Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sindram, and I'm coming to you here tonight with my review on Starcraft 2 Heart of the Swarm. Yeah, that's right, it's another gaming review. I know I promised for a lot more gaming than what I'm delivering at the moment, but I gotta be honest, going through a little bit of a dry spell as far as gaming is concerned. I'm not really finding all that much interesting stuff to talk about. But hopefully that'll pick up soon. Got a couple of things in mind that I can still talk about, so you'll definitely get to see a couple more. And of course, there is the planned top 50 of all time greatest games that I'm planning, so definitely something to look forward to. But, anyways, we got a review to do, so let's get started. Alright, starting off with the graphics. Now, there's not much to say about the graphics. It's basically StarCraft 2, but StarCraft 2 with a couple more bells and whistles, because there's definitely been some improvements made as far as graphics are concerned. It all looks just a little bit more streamlined, and this is definitely the case for the actual user interface. There's a couple of really good changes made there that make the game a lot better and better looking. For example, you get the hero's interface. It's a lot more clear now. It clearly shows you how much health and energy your hero has left, which, well, you always get to see back in the original StarCraft 2, but not as clearly as it is now. Now you get a pretty long bar that's at the side of your screen, which really lets you keep an eye on your heroes and doesn't doesn't give you those moments like, oh, where the hell did all my heroes' health go? I didn't notice that happening. You pretty much always get an eye on things right now. So it's little improvements like that that kind of make a really big impact. So nothing to complain about there. Also, the in-game movies are all very well done too, as well as the in-game cutscenes using the engine itself. They're all very well done and all look like you would expect from this type of game. So yeah, overall, it's still only StarCraft 2 graphics. I personally think they could have gone with a little bit better than this, but for an RTS, it's definitely very good in my opinion, and yeah, as it should be. I much prefer this kind of approach than the more 3D oriented games like the Command and Conquer series has been going. Personally, I like the more basic, more 2D perspective as opposed to the 3D full camera rotation. So yeah, overall, nothing to complain about here, so let's move on to the sound. Alright, for the sound, well, to be honest, again, very little to complain about. First of all, the music in this game is, as pretty much the entire StarCraft franchise, is just very good and very appropriate for the race that you're actually playing. So, the music is very, very good, nothing to complain about at all. Now, the sound effects are all pretty spot on as well. There's really not a single unit that made me go like, that doesn't really fit. So, or any kind of attack that just sounded absolutely rubbish. It all worked very well, and most of the things, sounded either like you remember them from either StarCraft 1 or StarCraft 2. So, yeah, again, as far as sound effects are concerned, not really anything to complain about. The unit sound effects, yeah, of course, you are playing mostly with the Zerg in this expansion. So, yeah, most of what you're going to be hearing are, grunts or growls. So, That is a little bit easier to do than, as for example, the Terran part, Wings of Liberty, which had more human had more human units, which need a line to say. So it's a little bit easier this time, but yeah, it all sounds really, really good. Which leads us to the voiceovers. The voiceovers again were good, but not as great as the rest of the sounds and music. To be honest, definitely a couple of times during the campaign, during the story mode, definitely when Kerrigan was involved, what you get to see on the screen didn't always sync really well with what the voice actor was trying to bring over. I mean, many times the emotional reaction we saw on screen wasn't at all in sync with what the voice actor was doing. And yeah, that did kind of bring you out of immersion sometimes, but it wasn't that bad that it was, very noticeable. But if you were really paying attention, you could see it. You could definitely see it at times. So, yeah, overall, as far as sound is concerned, pretty much everything good. Could have been a little bit better with the voice actors, but yeah, overall, nice enough so far. Let's move on. Alright, so next up we have the multiplayer, and I gotta be honest, don't really have much to say here because I haven't really played it all that much. I've played a couple of costume games, which were a lot of fun, but the actual competitive multiplayer matches, I haven't played a single one yet, simply because I don't want to. I just don't like it. It's not my cup of tea. RTS games, I'm really a single player kind of guy. I love playing through the campaigns, love following the story, but the entire competitive multiplayer, it's just not my kind of thing. Which is probably because I'm just really rather bad at it. Can't be good at everything, and RTS games, it's just not my cup of tea. I'm not fast enough for it. I'm really not. So yeah. So the multiplayer, not much to say about it. Like I said, what I did play of it was good. The costume games, it works much in the same way as Starcraft 2 and Starcraft 1 did. Warcraft 3, it's all kind of the same formula. And as far as the competitive matches are concerned, I hear they're much the same as they were in Wings of Liberty, the original StarCraft 2. So if you like that, then I'm sure you're gonna like it right now. But yeah, much like my Tomb Raider review, again, I haven't played it much, so it's not gonna lose or win any points for the multiplayer. Sorry, if you were looking for a review that went in depth on the multiplayer, yeah, you're not gonna find it here. So, moving on. Alright, which gets us to the story then, and this is sadly enough where we're driving off a cliff. Because, yeah, believe it or not, the story progression in Heart of the Swarm is even worse than Wings of Liberty. Which is just unbelievable because the story progression in Wings of Liberty was just so absolutely horrible already. But yeah, they are really outdone themselves, and without spoiling too much, not that there is much to spoil, but never mind, I'll briefly go over it. So, Heart of the Swarm continues off where Wings of Liberty ended. Kerrigan's human again. We're 6 months later. Some stuff happens, and she's back in control of the swarm. And she thinks it's a pretty decent idea to go have her revenge on Minx. And yeah, ladies and gents, that's it. That's all the story you're going to get out of this expansion. There is really nothing more to it. At the very least, Wings of Liberty had the little part with the protest missions where you get to see the prophecy with Zeratul, and had a little bit of interaction with the hybrids and stuff like that, which added at the very least a little bit to the story. But right here, there's just nothing. You're just going from mission to mission, trying to make the swarm better so you can go and kill minks. Really, that's all there is to it. There's a couple of other minor things happening, and some interesting characters returning and stuff like that, but nothing that really just made me go like, whoa, now this is something. This is story progression. It's like, no, seriously. If you look at it, just basically one mission from the 6 campaigns of the original Starcraft, that's counting World Wars, of course, it has more story progression than both, Heart of the Swarm and Wings of Liberty combined, which is just ridiculously sad. And they're really gonna have to do something really, really big with last installment, the Protoss part, to really salvage anything from this kind of storyline. To be honest, I mean, they really need to pick it up. But yeah, that's probably gonna be maybe 2 years off or something, so it doesn't do as much good right now. So yeah, overall, I'm very, very disappointed by the story. I was hoping they had learned from Wings of Liberty and the lack of real storyline progression there, but no, it only got worse. So yeah, a really big shame and a really big missed opportunity, because that's what made me as a gamer originally really, really like StarCraft 1. The gameplay was absolutely fantastic as well, but it's the story during the campaign that really drew me in, and to see that missing from this game, yeah, it's just a bit of a kick in the nuts, to be honest. But yeah, there you have it. There's nothing to it. Can't help it. Let's move on. So, alright, how much time are you gonna be able to sink into this game? Well, if you only look at the campaign, you get 26 missions, which all last about half an hour. And of course, on top of that, you get, a couple of in-game movies and some other stuff to do, like, leveling up Kerrigan and the evolutions. So overall, you're gonna be looking at about 14 to 15 hours for just playing through the campaign, which isn't bad. It keeps you busy for a little while. But yeah, of course, obviously, this being an RTS, that obviously mean it doesn't really end there. I mean, because you got a lot of costume games, your skirmish games, and then you have the multiplayer to keep busy with. There's some single player challenges as well that I haven't actually tried, but if you really want to do them for the achievements and the likes, they should keep you busy for at least another hour or two maybe. So yeah, overall, definitely, if you're a big multiplayer fan, big multiplayer RTS kind of guy, yeah, you're gonna be spending a lot of time with this game. So, yeah, length-wise, there's nothing to complain about here. The campaign, yeah, I was a little bit sad when it ended, so it definitely could have used a little bit, a couple more missions, maybe a couple longer missions too, would have probably been good. But yeah, overall, this game lengthwise, nothing to complain about, and as it should be. Alright, which then brings us to the most important part, and that is the gameplay. And yeah, gameplay wise, this is pretty much what you'd expect from a StarCraft game. If you've ever played StarCraft 1 or StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, you pretty much know what to expect from most of the game. Definitely the multiplayer fights and the skirmish battles are, pretty standard fare. It is, however, during the campaign that the really interesting stuff comes around. Because the story might suck, but the missions themselves are actually really good. Very interesting missions that they actually managed to give us here. All have their own different team and their own little mechanics that make them a lot more interesting than just the standard, base building and killing the other guy. For example, there's one mission that gives you control of Jim Rayner's flagship, and you have to, destroy a couple of space stations. And this really plays out in more of a MOBA style gameplay, where your base is constantly spawning little spaceships, as is the enemies, and then you as the Alperian can go along with these little ships, and it's nothing extremely new or very original, but it does add to the more standard RTS kind of variations of missions. So yeah, this is started, of course, in Wings of Liberty. It had a lot of those missions as well, because like the lava rising missions or the infestation missions where you could only attack during the day and stuff like that. So, Wings of Liberty started that, and Heart of the Swarm now takes that a little step further, with definitely some very interesting missions that really had me, to be honest, sitting on the edge of my seat and having a hell of a lot of time playing them. So, yeah, definitely very interesting. However, I do wish there were a couple more missions that actually involved you just building your base and just demolishing the opponent. Because as interesting as these, other varieties of missions might be, in the end you're still playing a real-time strategy game, and it feels like this game kind of lost touch with that sometimes during the campaign. Because there's only really just, I think, one or two real missions where you just build up your base and just go and destroy everything. And so, yeah, that's a little bit of a shame. Could have used a couple more just normal missions, as opposed to all these gimmick stages, which are fine, but, in smaller dosages, would have been a little bit better. And then, in my opinion, therein also lies the biggest problem during the campaign, is that most of these missions, within their little gimmick, always pretty much have a time constraint put on you. And to be honest, I really dislike that. And this gets, even worse when it gets put in the more simplistic RTS, values, like just building up your base and destroying the opponent. Those type of missions, there's really no need for any kind of time constraints or timers being put up there. It just doesn't add anything for me, and I don't like to be rushed during these kind of missions. I like just sitting there building up my drone so I can collect more minerals, slowly building up my base, my defenses, and then getting a big enough army to destroy my enemies with. But during many of these missions, you really can't do that, because you have to rush to get an army out there immediately, because otherwise something's gonna happen to this guy or that guy, and if that does happen, then the mission's over. So yeah, it was never all too difficult. It's not like I ever got to see a mission failed screen or anything, but yeah, I just don't like to be rushed, and most of these missions had a timer to it, so that felt a little bit disappointing to me. But overall, like I said, purely mission scheme wise, they did a very good job, and they really kept it interesting all the way to the end, despite the story just being absolutely terrible. So yeah, that's good all there. And as far as other factors of the gameplay are concerned, definitely campaign wise, then you're spending a lot of time evolving Kerrigan and leveling her up and evolving the rest of your swarm in what they call, evolution missions, which usually give you the choice between two strains for any kind of unit, which give them very distinct abilities, which is really kind of interesting and gives you a little bit of room to experiment with these things and build up a more effective army, or just an army that plays the way you like this to play this game. And I think that's interesting. I mean, this gives you the opportunity to go for a much more agile, mobile army, whereas, another guy that plays through the campaign and takes different strains might be, more of a powerhouse army that just but isn't quite as mobile. So yeah, it's a very different kind of playstyle that you can have to, and which is going to add to the length of the game, possibly adding another playthrough just to see just to play with the different strains, the different mutations, and different powers for Kerrigan. So overall, personally, I think they did a very good job there. It's not just the missions that they keep interesting, but it's everything you're doing in between the missions that's also just kept very much fun. And much like in the first Starcraft 2, Wings of Liberty, while you're doing this kind of stuff, you can also talk to your I don't know, teammates, I suppose you could call them, or generals in this case, I suppose, for Kerrigan. And yeah, that's kind of interesting. They usually have some either fun or interesting stuff to say. So yeah, overall, I gotta admit, gameplay wise, this game just really kind of hit the nail right on the head. It's a lot of fun playing through the campaign, despite the story not being good. So yeah, a very proper job right there. So overall, what did I think of the game? Yeah, well, you got yourself a very good game here. I have to admit, I don't like to admit it because I'm not much of a Blizzard fan anymore these days, but yeah, they got themselves a really proper game right here. They picked up a lot of stuff that made Wings of Liberty good, and they made it better and added a bunch of stuff to that as well. So yeah, overall, this game is definitely Wings of Liberty and then some. So overall, yeah, it all really works, and I gotta admit, as much as I was disappointed with the story, I can't deny that I've had a hell of a lot of fun while playing through the campaign and while playing a couple of custom maps and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what gaming is all about, having fun. And yeah, to be honest, I've had lots of it while playing this game, so nothing to complain about. And for that, it gets a well-deserved 8.6 out of 10 from me. Do I think you need to go buy this game? Yeah, I think you should. Definitely so. This game gets my seal of approval. If you're somewhat of an RTS fan, you should definitely have this game in your collection. So, thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and I will see you next time.